Amazing act revealed, Billionaire's life-changing response to Waitress during a robbery exposed. Emma wiped the counter clean, her tired eyes scanning the drab diner filled with restless souls. It was another long shift, but amidst the clattering plates and the sizzling bacon, hope flickered like the neon sign outside. She was doing it all for them, her mother, who was slipping away in a fog of illness, and her two younger siblings who relied on her not just for support, but for the warmth of family. Every smile she offered patrons was a promise that they would make it through, even as the weight of her responsibilities tightened around her chest. That ominous evening felt different. The usual hum of conversation was thick with anxiety. Emma's instincts tingled. Suddenly, the door burst open, and in marched a masked figure, weapon drawn. Time froze, hearts raced. Gasps echoed as the bustling diner jolted into an uneasy silence. In a surreal twist, her fear morphed into something fierce. Emma's heart thundered as she stepped forward, her voice steady, "Put the gun down." It surprised even her. Gasps turned to stillness as everyone, including Jack Hargrove, a billionaire nursing his drink alone, turned wide-eyed toward her. Jack felt deep within a stirring of admiration. "She's braver than I could ever be," he thought, his hollow world trembling with the revelation. The robber shouted incoherent demands, chaos unraveling. Yet, Emma stood there, heart racing yet defiant. "You don't have to do this," she declared, her breath catching slightly in her throat. Had she just challenged a man holding a gun? He hesitated, surprise flickering across his face. Caught between his own fears and the realization that he was watching a hero emerge, Jack felt paralyzed, torn between compassion and inaction. But then, a single thought ignited in him: what have I done for anyone lately? The thought echoed in the confines of his mind as he moved, stepping in front of Emma, heart pounding. "Let her go," he said, voice unwavering. The weight of his privilege was heavy, but today, it felt lighter than ever. The choice to act, to protect, loomed over them. In a blur, he leveraged every ounce of his emotional courage, channeling it into a moment that would change everything. Suddenly, the robber turned, distracted. Chaos erupted as patrons sprang into action, hands reaching out to subdue the intruder. The diner became a tapestry of bravery woven from shared fear, and in those moments, the fabric of the community stretched and pulled, revealing the fragility of their sanctuary. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, yet the shadows cast by that night weighed heavily. Emma clung to her family, their bond a shield against the trauma. Jack found himself reconsidering his own emptiness, ignited by that single act of courage. Their stories began to intertwine, with Emma turning her pain into a rallying cry for community, forcing Jack to confront his privilege and what it genuinely means to be part of something bigger than oneself. The gaps between their lives defined not just their backgrounds, but their very beings. But as threads of hope began to weave through the community, a hidden truth about the robber unfurled, a shock that threatened to unravel not just their connection, but everything they had worked so hard to build. As Emma held her breath, the question lingered like a haunting melody: can they bridge the chasm between them before all is lost? The days turned into weeks, yet the diner never felt quite the same again. Conversations, once light and easy, now floated with an undercurrent of unease. Emma served coffee with a smile, but her eyes often betrayed her thoughts, flickering back to that violent moment. Each clink of a dish was a reminder that safety was fragile, and every laughter felt like it was just a cover for the tension still lingering in the air. One afternoon, Jack entered the diner again. There was a strange intimacy in being back, as though the wound of that night bound him to the place. Patrons greeted him with mixed expressions, some whispered admiration, while others looked on with suspicion. He chose a booth in the corner, the dim light giving him the anonymity he sought. Emma noticed him immediately, feeling the familiar flicker of nerves. She had sensed his presence before she even saw him. What would he want now? She approached cautiously, wiping her hands on her apron as she steeled herself. The usual? She asked, avoiding direct eye contact, not wanting to read that man's depth, his complexities. Actually, Jack began, taking a breath to summon the courage that had sparked in him weeks ago. I'd like to talk. If you're free. Emma hesitated, grappling with her emotions, the gratitude, the spurt of anger, and the embarrassment of having felt so vulnerable in front of him. Yet, the same urge that had pushed her to defend everyone that night made her nod. Sure. Just a moment. As she poured his coffee, they exchanged glances that held the weight of everything left unsaid. I wanted to thank you, he said softly, a hint of vulnerability cracking through his usual composure. For what you did. It's been a wake-up call for me. Emma leaned against the counter, arms crossed defensively. You think that just because you stepped in front of me, it changes everything? You were still a spectator for most of it. Jack's heart sank a little, but he felt compelled to fight back. Maybe, but watching you stand up to that man, it made me realize how important it is to be there for others, not just to sit back in my privileged bubble. And where does that leave me? Emma replied, her voice trembling slightly. You're just a man with money who feels guilty right now. What will it take for you to act when it truly matters? Jack's resolve intensified. I want to help. I want to change. I can't promise to know what living your life is like. But together, maybe we can do something of value for others. Something meaningful. A flicker of hope sparked in Emma's chest. Could it be possible? Could this man turn his desire for redemption into real change? She put her hand on the counter, her fingers curling tightly around its edge. What do you have in mind? You think just throwing money at the problems will fix them? No. Not money. Involvement. I think we need to start providing support for people here, for families like yours. And I need your help. Your voice matters. She eyed him carefully, weighed the sincerity in his gaze. The diner, once merely a place of survival, was a potential starting point now, a venue to foster genuine change. But the shadows of that night wrapped around her thoughts. Was it even possible to trust him? Was he just another billionaire wanting to buy his way into redemption? Jack sensed her trepidation and leaned in closer. Emma, I mean it. I want to partner, to let you lead. You know what this community needs better than I ever could. Will you let me help? In that moment, as hope battled doubt, the weight of her decision pressed against her like a weight in her stomach. There was comfort in the familiar chaos of the diner, yet the opportunity for something greater sparkled on the horizon. But before she could answer, the door swung open unexpectedly, and the hairs on the back of her neck lifted. A figure stepped in, a familiar face she never imagined she'd see again, layers of shocking secrets wrapped around them like a storm. Could they really build something beautiful when the past loomed so dangerously close? The bell above the door jingled, cutting through the thick air in the diner. Emma's heart raced as her eyes locked onto the figure standing just inside the entrance, the dim light casting shadows across their features. It couldn't be, but there they were, a ghost from her past that she thought she had buried long ago. For a moment, time stood still. The din of the diner faded into a buzz, voices losing clarity as memories flickered like old film reels. The face was familiar, but the emotions it stirred were a mix of anxiety and something darker. There stood Luke, her brother, the one who fled after the accident, leaving her to pick up the pieces. What was he doing here? Jack noticed the shift in Emma, the way her breath caught as she stared wide-eyed. Emma? You all right? He asked, his voice pulling her back from the brink of panic. I need a moment, she stammered, breaking away from the counter. She moved toward Luke, dread filling her with each step. Some part of her longed to confront him, to yell and cry about everything he had put her through, how his absence had deepened the cracks in their family. They were supposed to be a team. Emma, he called, his voice soft and shaky, almost pleading. He reached out, but she recoiled as if his touch might burn her. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "You just disappeared." "Everyone thought I know," he interrupted, looking down as guilt washed over his face. "I didn't have a choice. But I'm back now, and I want to talk. It's important." "Important?" Her voice cracked. "You have no idea what you put me through. Do you even care?" He took a deep breath, his expression earnest. "I made mistakes, Emma, and I regret them every day. I've been working on getting things right for myself, and for you. And I thought maybe what? You expect me to believe you've changed?" She narrowed her eyes, shaking her head in disbelief. "You think you can just waltz back into my life and everything will be fine?" Jack stood nearby, a silent observant, trying to gauge the tension unfolding. The diner felt smaller, the patrons watching with hushed breath. "I'm not asking for forgiveness right away. Just a chance to explain, to show you I'm different," Luke said, desperation seeping into his words. Emma crossed her arms, battling the conflicting feelings brewing inside her. Jack's earlier words echoed in her mind. Was this an opportunity for growth? Could she learn from both past and present, perhaps harness this moment into something that mattered? "Are you here to disrupt my life again?" she asked, hardening her heart. "Because things are finally starting to look up. I want to let you ruin this. Please, Emma. Just hear me out." His voice dropped to a whisper, the weight of his misery spilling out. "I've been through my own battle. I'm trying to fix what went wrong. Just meet me after your shift. Please." The hopeful plea twined with her resentment, creating a tangled knot in her chest. She had fought so hard to reclaim her narrative after that horrible night. Could she dare to untangle her past? Jack stepped forward, sensing her turmoil. "Emma, you don't have to do this alone. Whatever you decide, I'm here for you." Moments stretched thin, the air crackling with unspoken possibilities. She felt both Jack's steady presence and Luke's toxic history. Torn between hope and hurt, she waited, grappling with what her next step should be. As she turned to face Luke again, a hint of understanding blossomed on both sides. But before she could reply, the door swung open once more, revealing another unforeseen interruption. The world felt heavy, and she realized she had just opened a door that could lead either to healing or chaos. What lay ahead could shift everything, and as she contemplated her choice, she could only wonder would she find herself in the end, or lose it all once more. The door swung open, and in walked a man with an air of authority that instantly captured everyone's attention. The dim light reflecting off his expensive suit hinted at wealth and confidence. Emma's heart skipped a beat as he stepped into her tangled moment with Luke. Who was he? Why now? "Excuse me," the man said, looking around as if searching for something or someone. His voice carried an intensity that made the diner feel smaller, more confined. "I need a table for one. And, ideally, I don't want to wait." Jack shifted beside Emma, a quiet unease rippling through him. Luke's eyes darted toward the newcomer, tension tightening his shoulders. Emma felt a rush of panic. What if this man turned out to be another complication in her already tangled life? "Just a minute, sir," Emma replied, pulling herself together, trying to sound calm despite the rising tide of anxiety. She diverted her attention back to Luke, whose expression still bore the heaviness of regret. "We can talk later," she whispered, even as her heart beat wildly. "Is this a private party?" The man interjected, cutting through the air with a condescending chuckle. "Or can anyone join? Who even are you?" Emma shot back, surprised by the sudden fierceness in her voice. She didn't want any additional distractions, especially after Luke's emotional bombshell. The unfazed man offered a slight smirk but said nothing, which only further fired up her frustration. "Emma," Jack said, his voice low yet firm. "Don't let him get to you." She shook her head, tightening her grip on her apron. She had a job to do. Taking a deep breath, she began to move away, trapped in a whirlwind of thoughts, Luke lingering on one side, the arrogant stranger on the other. But the man was persistent, his eyes locking onto her with an unnerving intensity. "What is your name? You should know that I appreciate efficiency in all things, including service." "Enough," Luke barked, stepping forward. The change in his demeanor surprised Emma. This was the brother who had always retreated from confrontation. "It's not polite to speak to her like that." A surprised hush fell over the diner, staff and patrons alike turning their attention to the unfolding drama. Emma felt the heat rise in her cheeks, unsure whether to be embarrassed or grateful as Luke stood up to the stranger. The man turned on Luke, intrigued. "Oh, a knight in shining armor. I suppose that makes this an even more interesting evening." Emma felt a flood of emotions. Luke had finally mustered courage, yet here was a stranger, challenging what she thought could be a turning point in her life. Could she trust any of them? "Both of you," just she started, but her voice wavered, caught between irritation and trepidation. The man waved a dismissive hand, his confidence unruffled. "What I'm proposing is simple. Let us make a deal here." He leaned closer as if sharing a secret. "Play your roles as you wish, but I can change your lives in ways you can't imagine. You just need to consider my offer." "What are you talking about?" Emma asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I just want to do my job." But the stranger's eyes glinted with something darker, opportunity mixed with power. And suddenly, all Emma could see was another door swinging open, this one potentially leading her into a twisted web of ambition and greed. Would she find herself lost among offers too enticing to resist? Or would she unearth truths about her family that she didn't want to face? With a sharp intake of breath, Emma glanced between Luke and the stranger, the weight of possibility crashing down around her. What would her next choice unveil? As her thoughts spiraled, she felt all eyes on her, the diner holding its breath, waiting for her decision. Would she step into this unknown, or would she turn back toward the brother who had left her hanging? The moment seemed to hang in the air, heavy with unspoken promises and hidden agendas. And without a clear resolution, the question loomed large: was she ready to gamble on a future built on the fragile foundations of her past? Emma's heartbeat pounded in her ears. The clatter of dishes and the low murmurs of patrons faded into background noise as she felt the weight of uncertainty bear down on her. This man, with his icy demeanor and penetrating gaze, was asking her to consider something that felt out of reach. A deal? With a person who looked like a character plucked straight out of a thriller? Luke's voice broke through her thoughts, soft and pleading, but laced with apprehension. "You don't have to entertain this. Just walk away." But the stranger stepped closer, his presence more overwhelming than before. "I'm not asking for much, sweetheart. Just a few moments of your time. What if I told you I could provide solutions, real ones, for all those troubles resting on those delicate shoulders of yours?" Emma glanced at Jack, whose eyes mirrored her own confusion and anxiety. She knew Luke was trying to protect her, but could he really shield her from whatever storm was brewing? "What do you want?" She fired back, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm offering you a way out of this dreary little diner. A chance to rise above your circumstances, your past. Think about it." He leaned in closer, his voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "You have untapped potential, Emma. I can help you explore it." With a flicker of doubt, she thought of her family's struggles, the weight of expectations, and the fear of repeating their mistakes. The need for a better future gnawed at her, but so did mistrust. This man was no savior. Luke responded with an edged tone, "Whatever you're selling, she's not interested. You don't even know her." The protectiveness in his words sent a thrill through Emma, weaving through her tangled emotions. "Is that so?" The stranger smirked, but it oddly didn't reach his eyes. "Then how about I spice things up with a little competition?" "Emma," he continued, "if you truly want change, why not take control of what you can? How about you let me take you on a little adventure? Something exhilarating that might just help you discover what you've been missing in life." "Adventure?" Emma's confusion turned into disbelief. What do you mean? I can show you a world beyond this diner's walls, he answered. Meet me tomorrow night. His eyes glinted with promise and something else, a danger she couldn't quite pinpoint. Just say yes. Emma felt the room spin, the weight of his proposal crashing down on her like waves. This was more than just another day at work, this was an invitation to step beyond her comfort zone. Questions flared in her mind. Could she really trust him? Did she have the courage to reach for something more? Get out, Luke said harshly, his voice laced with anger. Just leave her alone. The man chuckled, unfazed, as he adjusted his suit jacket. Don't worry, I want to keep her from her duties. But think it over, Emma. You've got until tomorrow night to decide. With that, he turned on his heel, striding across the diner, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. The tension remained, thick and palpable. Emma's mind raced as she glanced between the two men in her life. Luke was breathing heavily, his jaw set tight. Jack looked uncertain, his brows knitted together. Emma, you can't even consider it, Luke insisted, searching her eyes for clarity. We've been through more than enough. You don't need a stranger complicating things more. Yet, part of her was intrigued. She felt an urge to break free, to escape the monotony that had confined her for so long. What if she could really transform her life? Just as the panic and excitement began to intertwine, a single thought drifted through her mind, echoing off the walls of her heart. What if this was the turning point she was waiting for? As she caught a glimpse of herself in the reflection of the diner window, a flicker of hope sparked within her. Was it really time to take a risk? In that moment, she realized she was standing at the edge of a precipice, about to make a choice that could alter the trajectory of her life forever. And as the door jingled once more, she felt the weight of a decision creeping closer. The path ahead shimmered with both possibility and peril. Could she step boldly into a future that both terrified and thrilled her? Or would she retreat into the safety of her past? The choice loomed over her like a dark cloud waiting to break. What would she decide by morning? Emma could hardly keep her hands steady as she wiped the counter, the remnants of the stranger's words swirling in her mind like leaves caught in a storm. She felt the weight of Luke's worry, his concern wrapping around her like a warm blanket, but her heart beat louder, urging her toward the edge of a new horizon. Hey, you okay? Jack asked, breaking through her swirling thoughts. He leaned against the counter, his expression softening. Just thinking, she said, forcing a smile. But it felt more like a mask than the genuine brightness she wanted to project. About him? Jack gestured vaguely toward where the stranger had stood moments before. He was sketchy. Forget him. Yeah, but what if he's right? Emma whispered, glancing out the window. The streetlights outside glimmered, and beyond them, the sprawling city felt alive and full of possibilities. What if I can do more? Be more? Jack's voice carried a warning, but she could see the flicker of doubt in his eyes, too. I just don't want you to get hurt. This isn't just about adventure, it's about sense. I know. I know. Her frustration bubbled up. But what if this is my chance? It's like I've been stuck in a rut my whole life. What if I actually want to break out? Luke shifted closer, his concern palpable. And run headfirst into something dangerous? Do you really think this guy cares about you? Maybe it's not about him caring, Emma said slowly. Maybe it's about me caring for myself for once. She could feel the stirrings of defiance, the kind she usually bottled up. Adventure? More like a trap, Luke replied sharply. You've got me and Jack. You don't need a stranger with a flashy belt buckle making promises he can't keep. The diner around them bustled with life, laughter intermingling with the sounds of clinking dishes and sizzling food, but Emma felt distant, as if she was grappling with a tether pulling her away from comfort and into the unsettling unknown. What's the worst that could happen? She challenged, her voice rising slightly. I stay here, working the same shifts, living the same life, day in and day out. Is that really what you want for me? There was a moment of silence. Luke's face softened, his resolve visibly wavering. I want you safe, Em. Maybe this is what I need to feel safe, Luke. The admission hung between them, heavy yet liberating. Maybe stepping out of this safety net is my chance to finally learn to fly. I owe it to myself to at least consider it. Luke let out a slow breath, and she could see the internal battle raging within him. Just promise me you'll think this through. This isn't a game. Eyes locked onto her, Emma nodded, a pact forming in the quiet tension between them. As the diner began to empty, the lights dimming to a warm glow, Emma felt the burden of choice come crashing down anew. The thought of the meeting loomed large, the stranger's enigmatic grin swirling with the same uncertainty swirling within her chest. Was she really prepared to leap into that world, whatever it may hold? In the soft glow of the diner, with her friends close, the night felt charged with emotion as the decision loomed closer. Okay, she whispered under her breath, heart racing because it felt like she had already made up her mind, but as she wiped the last table, the door jingled open once more. A familiar voice called out, sending a jolt through her. What if she wasn't the only one facing choices tonight? It was the stranger, back, and this time, he wasn't alone. Emma, he called, a wicked smile on his face. I see you're thinking it over. Let me show you what amazing adventures await. The air crackled with tension as all heads turned toward this sudden shift in the night. Emma's heart raced anew. What was about to unfold? Could she really dive into the path laid out before her, or was it too late to turn back? Emma's heart pounded in her chest, a wild rhythm that matched the uncertainty spinning around her. The stranger stepped into the dim light of the diner, his presence a magnetic force pulling everyone's attention toward him. He was flanked by two others, both dressed sharply, their eyes glimmering with a curiosity that felt almost predatory. What do you want? Jack asked, barely masking his protectiveness. He stood slightly in front of Emma, a silent shield. You can't just come in here. Relax, the stranger interrupted, raising his hands in a non-threatening gesture. I'm not here to cause trouble. Just to offer Emma a chance. Emma's mind raced. His words felt like an invitation, an escape from the familiar monotony that suffocated her. Yet the weight of Jack and Luke's stares burned into her back, each gaze a reminder of the safety net she hovered above. Is this about what you said earlier? She asked, her voice coming out steadier than she felt. About the adventures? His smile widened, a flash of charm that made her stomach twist. Exactly. The city is buzzing tonight, and I can show you things that will change your life. But first, let me introduce my friends. This is Tanya and Eric. He gestured to the two companions, who nodded but remained silent, eyes scanning the diner. A wave of nervous excitement washed over her, the thought of something more intriguing than the usual unraveled in her mind. What do you mean by change my life? She asked, trying to stifle the hope blooming in her heart. Let's just say, he began, stepping closer, I'm looking for someone with potential, someone like you. I've got a project in mind, and it needs a fearless spirit. You've got that spark, Emma. I can help you ignite it. Jack scoffed, crossing his arms. And what's in it for you? Easy, Tanya chimed in, her voice smooth like silk. We bring you on board, Emma, and you could hit the ground running, but you'll have to leave this place behind. There it was, the ultimatum. Her pulse quickened as she considered the life that filled the diner, the shared laughter with Luke and Jack, the comforting hum of routine. But that spark, that pull toward adventure, whispered that perhaps leaving was worth the risk. Why should I trust you? Emma finally pushed, meeting the stranger's confident gaze head-on. The diner felt suffocating now, filled with fleeting laughter muted against the weight of this decision. Trust is earned, not given, he replied, his tone turning serious. But I'll let you make a choice. Come with me, see what's possible, or stay safe and sound. He paused, letting the tension hang heavy in the air. Either way, you will never know what could have been. All eyes were on Emma, as though the world had come down to this very moment. Luke shifted uneasily, while Jack's expression hardened, worry etched on his face. Could she really leave this all behind? The thought both thrilled and terrified her. She was torn between the safety net of her familiar life and the seductive allure of the unknown standing just beyond reach. She murmured, but the word fled her lips uncertain. The stranger stepped back slightly, sensing her hesitation. Thing is, you don't have to decide right now. Just think about it. We'll be around. But remember. His eyes locked onto hers, sending a shiver down her spine. One day you might wake up and realize you waited too long to take your chance. He turned, leading Tanya and Eric back toward the exit, the tension in the room dissipating but leaving behind an electric charge. Emma felt her heart racing, a maelstrom of emotions swirling inside her. All she had to do was take that step, but what if that step led her too far away? As the door closed softly behind them, she turned to Luke and Jack, their faces a mix of worry and support. What now? She asked, barely above a whisper, uncertain if she was ready to face the answer, and in that moment, she knew her life was standing at the precipice, one decision away from forever changing. Would she risk it all for a chance at something unknown, or would she cling to what was safe and familiar? The answer lingered, heavy and daunting. Emma sat back down, shaking slightly. The warmth of the diner felt different now, colder, more distant. Jack leaned in closer, searching her face. You okay? His voice was soft, but the concern etched on his brow made her want to cry. I don't know, she breathed. They made me feel like there is something more out there, something beyond this place. Luke smirked, aimlessly stirring his coffee as he considered her words. Emma, everyone's got dreams. But that guy? He's probably just a salesman looking for his next big score. She glanced at Jack, whose fierce expression told her he shared Luke's suspicions. Yet, at the same time, she felt that restlessness bubbling up again, the undeniable urge to break free from her current life. What if he's not? She whispered, almost afraid to voice the hope clinging to her heart. What if there really is more? Before she could delve deeper into her thoughts, a loud crash jolted everyone in the diner. The door swung open, sending a gust of cold air in as a group of masked figures rushed in, one brandishing a gun. Everyone down. The man shouted, his voice frantic. Panic erupted. People screamed and ducked for cover. Emma's mind went blank, and in that chaos, she instinctively grabbed Jack's hand, squeezing it tightly. Get behind the counter. He ordered, pulling her down with him. Heart racing, she could barely hear the orders exchanged between the robbers and the frightened staff. Her breath quickened as she watched the scene unfold from the relative safety of the kitchen's shadows. Don't try anything funny, or else. Another robber yelled, his voice dripping with menace. Emma felt her entire body tense, and for a moment, she was caught between the fear of the situation and the memory of the stranger's offer. When the dust would settle, would she still be standing in this same spot? Suddenly, a firm voice cut through the chaos. You don't have to do this. Jack shouted, standing up as if he were somehow immune to the fear rippling through the room. You don't want to hurt anyone. Emma gasped. Stay down, Jack. But he didn't listen, stepping forward, his determination taking her breath away. To her astonishment, one of the robbers glanced at Jack, a flicker of uncertainty flaring in his eyes. The others seemed taken aback, their aggression faltering just a touch. Just back off, man. The gunman shouted. Emma felt the pressure in the room rise. The situation was spiraling fast, and she knew that any wrong move could cost someone their life. Jack's voice was steady, a calm in the storm. You can walk away from this. Nobody has to get hurt. Why should we listen to you? A third robber sneered, jarring Emma back to reality. What if I told you there was a way out? Jack replied, his voice unwavering as he stepped into a space of vulnerability, laying everything on the line. Think about it. You're better than this. Emma's heart raced with admiration and terror. Watching Jack challenge the threat head-on made her realize how much she admired his bravery. But she also felt trapped. If Jack could face down danger, could she take a leap into the unknown as he had? As tension hung thick in the air, the scene froze, eyes darting nervously between Jack and the masked gang. In that moment, she knew something was about to change, not just for her but for everyone in the diner. Could real transformation come in the midst of chaos? Emma clenched her fists, feeling a fire ignite within her. The choice she had to make suddenly became clearer. She wasn't ready to wait any longer, and as the armed men shifted, unsure, she wondered what would happen next. Would she step forward into the unknown? Or would she retreat into the safety she had always known? The air thickened with uncertainty as Emma's heart pounded in her chest. She could feel the weight of the gunman's gaze as Jack remained steady, each word presenting a possibility. What was it that Jack saw in them beneath the masks and the aggression? Did he truly believe they could be reasoned with? Just back off. The gunman shouted again, his eyes darting nervously between Jack and his companion, who was gripping a duffel bag tightly. This was it. This was the moment. Emma took a breath, adrenaline surging through her veins, urging her, pushing her. Maybe it was time for her to act, to step out of the shadows instead of watching Jack handle everything alone. She started to rise, but Jack's hand shot out to grip her wrist, his eyes pleading with her to stay put. "Don't," he whispered. "Please stay down." But courage boiled up inside her. She could see how Jack's words had created a crack in the robber's facade. There was a flicker there, a glimpse of uncertainty that could be expanded. She took a deep breath and leaned into Jack, whispering back, "No, we can do this together." He looked at her, confusion and slight panic flickering across his face. "Emma, it's too dangerous, I know." She interrupted, her voice barely a whisper but full of resolve. "But we can't just sit here. If there's a chance, everyone stay calm." The gunman barked again, trying to regain control, his voice wavering. The panic in the diner surged like a wave, quiet gasps echoed around them, mixed with the fear that gripped even the bravest souls. Emma felt her heart race as she stood up slowly, steadying herself against the counter. The world outside the diner felt so far away. It was just her, Jack, and the armed men before them. A surge of strength filled her veins. "You don't have to do this," she said, her voice rising above the chaos, attempting to channel Jack's courage. The gunman looked at her, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. "Who the hell do you think you are?" "I'm a waitress," she replied, her voice trembling but unwavering, "just like you used to be." "But this isn't the answer. You're better than this." The room fell silent, and for a moment, even the other robbers paused. Emma locked her eyes on the gunman's mask, searching for humanity behind it. She could see the tension in his shoulders and the way one of the other robbers was shifting uncomfortably. "Think of what you're doing," Emma pressed. "What you'll lose. You don't have to walk this path." "Shut up." He barked, but his voice lacked conviction, cracking under the pressure. The walls felt like they were closing in, breaths held tight as everyone hung between hope and despair. Jack took a step closer, standing by her side, a silent testament to solidarity. "You can choose differently. We all can. Just put down the gun." Another moment of silence hung thick in the air. Emma felt the quickening pulse of uncertainty, the stakes clearer than ever. She wished so much for them to listen, to see the light even in dark times. But then, the tension shattered like glass. A loud crash sounded from the kitchen, sending everyone into a frenzy. Emma's heart sank. Was this the moment it all fell apart? She watched as the robber's eyes flashed with panic, glancing toward the kitchen entrance. "Stay down!" Jack shouted, taking a protective stance in front of her, but Emma didn't feel fear. She felt resolve, because whatever happened next could change everything: her life, Jack's life, and even the lives of those men standing before them. As the chaos began to unfold around them, Emma realized she was ready for a shift, ready to embrace something new. But would it come at too high a cost? What would happen when the world around them finally responded? Emma's heart drummed like a wild song in her chest as tension hung in the air. The chaos around her escalated, every sound magnifying her sense of urgency. In that moment of uncertainty, she took a deep breath, her resolve solidifying like a shield against the storm. Jack stood beside her, emboldening her courage without uttering a word. As the robbers shifted, their confidence waning, Emma caught a glimpse of the possibility for change in their eyes. "This isn't who you are," she shouted again, her voice stronger this time, echoing through the diner as if it held the power to penetrate their hardened shells. The gunman's facade cracked ever so slightly. "Shut up," he warned, but there was less venom, a flicker of doubt revealing itself. The other robbers exchanged glances, their bravado faltering amidst the weight of her plea. Emma wasn't just a waitress, she was a voice, a thread weaving together a tapestry of compassion that refused to unravel. "Just drop it and walk away," Jack added, his tone calm but firm. "You don't know us." The gunman shouted again, but this time the sting in his voice felt weaker. "Maybe we don't," Emma responded, finding her stride. "But we're here to help you. We're human. We feel. We understand what it's like to make hard choices." In that instant, the outside din of the diner faded. It was just them wrapped in a palpable tension, hanging on the precipice of fear and understanding. Emma took a step closer, her hands outstretched, palms facing them as if to create a bridge where once there had been walls. "Imagine what you could gain instead of what you think you'll lose," she continued, her voice barely wavering now. "We all have struggles. We all have things we wish we could change. But hurting others won't make your burdens lighter." Silence enveloped the diner as the robbers were caught in Emma's gaze. Their instinctive bravado slipped away, revealing traces of humanity hidden beneath the masks. One of them, a wiry figure with trembling hands, looked at his friend. "What are we doing?" he whispered, the question so profound it resonated in the hearts of everyone present. Emma seized the moment, her heart pounding with conviction. "You can walk out of here empty-handed, but with your dignity intact. Who would you rather be, the person who points a gun at others, or the person who chooses to care?" A light flickered in the lead robber's eyes, the kind that had been dimmed beneath layers of desperation and anger. As he hesitated, the weight of his weapon seemed to shift. "Please," Emma said, her voice trembling but infused with hope. "Let us help you change your story." The moment stretched like time itself, each second deliciously heavy with potential. Jack moved beside her, adding to the weight of their unified front, grounding her with his steadfast presence. Then, something extraordinary happened. The robber lowered the gun ever so slightly, revealing uncertainty where there was once anger. I didn't want this," he murmured, almost to himself, and then, as if a dam had burst, the damning silence shattered with voices. "Put the gun down!" yelled a patron from the back, another heartbeat of bravery igniting the energy in the room. Emma could feel at the shift the wave of courage washing over everyone present. "Please," Jack urged softly, "think of your future. It can be different." Just like that, the tide turned. One by one, the robbers dropped their weapons, the sound of metal clinking against the tile floor resonated like a choir of hope. Families began to exhale, the din of the diner easing into a symphony of reluctant relief. As the last gun fell, Emma felt the wall inside her crack. The moment she had so desperately yearned for freedom, hope, transformation blossomed in the air like spring after a long winter. "Get out," Emma said, her voice steady but softening as she looked at the men. "Get help. Find a way to choose differently." And in that instant, she no longer felt like a bystander in her own life. In her courage, she had ignited redemption, not just for herself, but for those who dared to step beyond their confines. The robbers fled, fear turning to freedom. The diner erupted into applause. Tears glistened in Emma's eyes, a radiant smile broke through as she realized the true power of collective voices. That day, a new chapter began, not just for Emma, but for her family, for Jack, and for everyone in that diner who had witnessed transformation flourish from despair. As she glanced at Jack, who wore an expression of awe and pride, she felt the warmth of self-discovery sweep over her. They were no longer just survivors of a moment, they had become architects of change. "Are you ready for something more?" Jack asked, the soft glow of promise illuminating his eyes. Emma nodded slowly, her heart brimming with newfound conviction. More than ready. As they stepped out into the world together, a canvas of endless possibilities awaited them, filled with choices that were no longer held hostage by fear. The door to adventure had swung wide open, and this time, she was ready to walk through it. Don't let this moment escape you. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you won't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this incredible content alive. Comment below your feelings about this emotional journey. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this transformation. This is the moment to show your support for what we create together, because only true fans understand the importance of standing up for our stories. Don't wait not even one more second.